enough love to, we got most improved and all that. That goes to one guy, but we don't talk enough. We don't, and maybe we should talk to at Mr. Silver about implementing this. We can they naming awards after people. We can name it the Brett Usher Award. Maybe we could talk to them. And I got a few people I know at the NBA. Maybe I can holler at them. But so let's go, Brett. Who you got your all improvement first team?
All right, so 5 guys like this. There's obviously a lot of directions you could go with this. Like we were talking about a little bit beforehand, how they tend to give the award to these like guys that are becoming stars, like John Morant, Julius Randle, Brandon Ingram, guys like that. And like so I'm trying to just have like a balance between guys like that. So I Lauri Markkanen for sure. Okay, like he's probably the front runner to win the award. He's averaging super efficient, 25 points a game, about 9 rebounds on a Jazz team that blew away everyone's expectations. Like they could lose out the rest of the year and they'd still have 1 more games than I expected them to win. Like you know what I mean? And he's been a big part of that. So he's got to be considered the front runner. He's always been a nice player, but now he's like a star.
People gave up on him. People like, well, maybe he'll get 18, 19 a game. Maybe he'll sprinkle in a 20-point per game, but he is what he is. Well, we found out there's more to that.
Way more. And people were like killing Cleveland for that contract when they did that sign and trade, just like the summer of 21. Like he got that 4-year 68, and people were like, why are you giving Lauri Markkanen 4 years 68? Now that's like maybe the best contract in the NBA.
The steal.
It's a crazy steal now. So that's funny. But he's a guy that's got to be on there. And then another probably kind of obvious one would be Nick Claxton. I think.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean he's anchoring a top 10 defense essentially with the Nets. He's averaging 13 and 9 with a league leading 2.7 blocks per game, and that's up from like 9, 6 and 1 last season. He's also leading the league in field goal percentage at 74.1%. Just playing great basketball. I mean, he just pops every time you watch them. The impact that he has defensively, he's another super versatile defender, super switchy, maybe even more so than Bam in terms of just like his comfort level defending guards on the perimeter in space. Like he can do that as well as any guy his size ever. He's so quick.
Doesn't back down either, especially when when they played the Sixers the other night and MB was trying to get big on him. And usually, people lean to him, but he didn't back down from MB. I respected that from him.
Yeah. And like, I think people had pretty high expectations for him last season. But he had like an illness, some injuries, like never really got off the ground. And it was a pretty disappointing year. So I think juxtaposed with that, he's made very significant improvement. And like he'd be in my top 3 for MIP, and of course then on my all MIP first team.
Yep. So he's been great. And he's also in defensive player of the year contention too. That's how good he's been for them.
He might be top 3 for both.
Yep.
Real talk. He just, I tweeted about this the other day, but he just, and I jinxed him, I think, in doing so, because his streak ended like right after I tweeted about it. But he had strung together 16 consecutive games with multiple blocks and 50+% shooting from the field. That is the longest such streak in the history of the NBA. So like that, and that's kind of him in a nutshell. Just a lot of blocks, really high percentage, just super efficient player, knows his role and is playing it really well. So yeah, he's on there for sure for me. And then another obvious one is SGA. We all know what he's done, like 31 points a game, like as good as he was last year at about 24.5 points a game.
Better, man.
Now he's, a 6.5 point increase is a 6.5 point increase, no matter where you're coming from. And OKC is another team that's surprised a lot of people. I would have talked about them, but I had pretty high hopes for them. Maybe didn't think they'd be quite this good, but maybe in the play-in loosely, and now they're right there. So I think
they're a game out.
It's crazy. And so between that and just his numbers, like he's probably going to be there he's going to be a finalist with Markkanen for sure. And he's 100%. definitely got to be on here. And then to keep it moving, I'm going to go with my guy Bol down in Orlando. And Bol was a guy that people were saying is probably out of the league like a year ago.
Because he was with the Denver, right? Then Denver had traded him, and then didn't the trade get bounced to Boston, and then he failed the physical, and then he wound up trading to Detroit, right? And then he got traded from
something like that. I think Denver tried to trade him to Detroit, failed the physical. Then he got traded to Boston, and then Boston.
Yeah, it was either one of those. Yeah,
it was like something like that. But he ended up in Orlando, and like people didn't even think he was going to play. And then, I mean, the guy's been good, man. Like, you know, he's averaging 11.7 rebounds, 1.5 blocks, good efficiency. Now, I think his perception has been like the classic like pendulum swing, where it went from like this guy's out of the league to all of a sudden like crazy hype. Like he's, oh my God, like what's the ceiling of this guy? And then it kind of swings back where people are like, so there's a segment of Orlando fans that are pretty hard on him, like talking about his defense and stuff. And it's like, okay, like he's not perfect, but this is a guy that people thought was out of the league. Like let's focus on the good things he does. So I think that pendulum's going to swing back and we'll come to appreciate him again. But I feel like people have kind of cooled on him, but when I watch him, I'm still impressed. Like maybe he's not the greatest defensive player, but he's got a 7'10" wingspan or whatever. And he, you know, is certainly a presence. Like you don't want to try to shoot around that guy. So yeah, man. I mean, but if you're talking about improvement, like coming from where he had come from, he had played, I don't even know, maybe like 30 NBA games, 40 NBA games before this season, had done nothing at the NBA level, really. And then to come out
all that, man.
And early in the season when Orlando had all those injuries, man, he was starting for them, routinely putting up like 18 and 8 with like leading the league in blocks, I think, for a while. So yeah, man, if we're talking about improvement, he's as improved as anybody, but he's just not going to be in that award conversation because that's not the kind of guy they give it to anymore. So that's why the all MIP first team is dope, to show guys like Bol some love. And then just the last one here, the fifth would have been your guy, Jalen Brunson.
Jalen Brunson. Okay. I like that.
I mean, you know, he's going to be another one that's probably in the conversation when it comes down to it. He's another potential first-time All-Star, right? And he was really good last year and really, really good in the playoffs. So, like, maybe it doesn't feel like he's improved that much. But if you just look at, first of all, like his role, like where he went from that, you know, number 2 guy kind of next to Luka to like running the show in New York, like, and then he's at about 23 points and 6 assists per game, up from 16 and 5 last year. So production wise, that's a big increase too. So yeah, he's in my top 5 too. And like I said, there's a couple other ways I could go with this, but I feel pretty good about that 5 for sure.
No, I like that 5 a lot. And Jalen he's also been really clutch, one of the more clutch players in the players. And he learned a lot from playing with Luka and then just having that natural knowledge from the game with his dad being a 9-year NBA. And, you know, he's just a winner, man. You know, Villanova, National Player of the Year, 2-time national champion. Still can't believe he was a 2nd-round pick, but that's when you just look at his physical, you know, you just look at him physically, you're like, well, he's short, he's not athletic, 2nd-round pick. And I think little by little that how people evaluate players like that has changed, because sometimes you're going to be like, well, he's got something in him that's not that we should be looking at more than just, you know, his physical traits. Like, and obviously he's shown that he can be, you know, more than just a sidekick to Luka. You know,
all-star caliber player, whether he makes it or not. Like, I think he deserves it. I think a lot of guys deserve it. I actually think they should maybe expand the rosters a little bit because the talent.
JJ Redick just said, I was watching JJ said that, and did he? 12, yeah, he said that, and I'm glad you brought that up. He said, I mean, I don't know what number he said, but he said they should increase it, for sure.
by 1 or 2 anyway. Yeah. Like, there's just the talent level is deeper than it's ever been. I think everybody agrees on that. There's just more all-star caliber 100%. Players than there's ever been. So I think that the roster size should reflect that. So, but Brunson definitely is deserving, and he's better than I thought he was, man. Like, he's opened my eyes this season. I obviously saw him in the playoffs, knew he could play, knew how great he was in college, but like seeing him in this role, it's like, okay, yeah, he can do this. Like he can be that guy. So